My name is Kathy Chauvin. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County. On behalf of the League, I welcome you to our presentation on Propositions 98 and 99. These are the two propositions on the June 3rd ballot. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that was formed in 1920 when women first gained the right to vote. We are political but not partisan, which means we do not endorse any particular candidate or political party. Our goal is to promote active and informed citizen participation at all levels of government, and one of our core missions is education. Our forum today will be strictly educational, which means I will not be endorsing or opposing either proposition. However, I will provide you with public information that has been provided by both the supporters and the opponents of the propositions, and I will also provide you with information that's within the Secretary of State's voter guide and information provided by the Legislative Analyst's Office. The Legislative Analyst is a nonpartisan office within state government which provides fiscal and policy information to the state, particularly to the state legislature. There are two propositions on the June 3rd ballot, Propositions 98 and 99. If either of these propositions is approved by a majority of voters, the California Constitution will be amended and the proposition will become state law. A yes vote on either of these propositions means that you want the law to change as proposed by the proposition. A no vote means you do not favor the change as proposed. If one or both of the propositions are approved by voters, these new provisions of the Constitution cannot be changed by the legislature, but can only be changed by another vote of the general electorate, or can be changed if they are challenged in court. Both of the propositions on the ballot in June deal with a power called eminent domain. Eminent domain is the power of a government to take property for public use, even from an unwilling owner, so long as the owner receives just compensation or a fair price for it. The California Constitution provides for this authority of eminent domain to both state and local government. And generally, the issues in these proceedings are what is a public use and what is just compensation or a fair price. Common examples of eminent domain are the taking of property for public uses such as roads, streets, schools, and parks. In these cases, the government generally uses the property itself to build and operate the projects. Sometimes, however, governments may use eminent domain to take property to give to private businesses or nonprofit organizations for public purposes. For example, rundown apartment buildings in a high crime area might be transferred to a nonprofit housing organization to renovate and provide affordable housing, or property might be taken to promote redevelopment in a neglected urban core. In 2005, the United States Supreme Court decided a case called Kelo versus New London. In that case, it held that the city of New London in Connecticut could condemn a private homeowner's property and transfer it to a private corporation because the corporation was providing economic development in an economically depressed area. This decision was widely criticized, and many states have enacted legislation to restrict the use of eminent domain in this fashion. Since 2005, various attempts have been made in California to restrict this type of eminent domain, but they have all been unsuccessful, including the failure of Proposition 90 in 2006. Both propositions on the ballot would address the specific fact pattern that's been found in Kelo, that is, the condemnation of a private home and transferring it to another private entity, or in that case it was a corporation, for public use. However, the two propositions take very different approaches as to how they address this problem. If both propositions are approved by a majority of the voters, the courts will have to decide how to reconcile the two propositions. Proposition 98 is entitled the California Property Owners and Farmland Protection Act, and it provides that government can no longer take private property such as homes, farms, or businesses and turn that property over to a private person or organization for any purpose. Proposition 98 provides exceptions for cases in which a public agency uses eminent domain to abate a public nuisance or criminal activity. It also states that nothing in the proposition will prohibit the powers of the governor to take or damage private property in connection with his or her own powers under a declared emergency. While these provisions in Proposition 98 would address the concerns raised as a result of the Supreme Court case in Kelo, Proposition 98 goes beyond the Kelo concerns to provide additional and broader changes to the power of eminent domain in California. Some of these changes include: first, Proposition 98 would phase out rent control in California. While Proposition 98 allows renter with rent control now to stay and keep in their rent control units until they move, once that unit is vacated, rent control would be eliminated for that unit. In addition, governments would no longer be able to enact new rent control measures if Proposition 98 is approved. Second, Proposition 98 defines the key terms such as taken, public use, private use, and just compensation in the Constitution. Currently, the Constitution does not define these terms, but leaves their interpretation to the legislature or state court. Third, Proposition 98 would change the way courts review eminent domain cases. Right now, courts give deference or special weight to the findings and conclusions of the government. If Proposition 98 were approved, the court would be required to consider all relevant evidence and exercise its own independent judgment without deference to the findings of the government. Supporters of Proposition 98 say that the reforms of Proposition 98 are necessary to prohibit the government from seizing homes, smaller businesses, family farms, and places of worship, and then transferring them to private use or profit. Supporters of Proposition 98 say that it would make it illegal for cities and counties to force owners of private homes, apartments, or other residences to sell or rent their property at below market value. Supporters of Proposition 98 say that the opponents of Proposition 98 are the very people who benefit now from eminent domain under existing law, including politicians and developers who make huge profits when they seize private property. Supporters of Proposition 98 note that Proposition 98 does not eliminate the government's power of eminent domain for legitimate public purposes, such as schools and highways. Opponents of Proposition 98 say that the real purpose behind Proposition 98 is the elimination of rent control, and that it represents a hidden agenda of wealthy landlords and mobile home park owners who will benefit from the elimination of rent control and various renters' rights. Opponents of Proposition 98 say that the new definitions proposed in Proposition 98, including the definition of private use, will result in significant changes to state law that will threaten the state's ability to protect the environment and our drinking water supply. They say that these new definitions will cripple the ability to create livable communities with affordable housing and will prevent law enforcement officials from dealing with slum-like conditions that contribute to crime. Opponents of Proposition 98 say that Proposition 98 is poorly drafted and will lead to frivolous lawsuits and increased bureaucracy, which will hurt all homeowners and property owners. Proposition 99 is a more limited approach to changing eminent domain in California. Proposition 99, entitled the Homeowners and Private Property Protection Act, would change the Constitution to make it illegal for governments to take the home of an owner if the owner has lived there for at least 1 year and turn it over to a private person or organization for private use or development. Again, this is directed to avoid the result in Kelo. Proposition 99 provides exceptions to this general rule for the purpose of protecting public health and the environment, preventing serious and repeated criminal activity, responding to an emergency, or controlling environmental contamination. In contrast to Proposition 98, which places the definition of key terms in the Constitution itself, Proposition 99 specifically states that it is not intending to change the meaning of the terms taken, damaged, public use, or just compensation, as those terms are defined under current law. Therefore, under Proposition 99, the legislature and the state court would retain the right to interpret these terms. Supporters of 99 say Proposition 99 that, unlike Proposition 98, Proposition 99 is a straightforward approach to the solutions raised in the Kelo decision without all of the hidden agendas buried in Proposition 98. Supporters of Proposition 99 say that the opponents of Proposition 99 are the landlords and mobile home park owners that support Proposition 98 because it abolishes rent control and other renter protections. Opponents of Proposition 99 say that Proposition 99 provides no real protection for homeowners and does not protect family farms, small businesses, or places of worship from being taken by the government. Opponents of Proposition 99 claim that the supporters of Proposition 99 are the politicians and developers that do not want real reform of eminent domain law. Opponents of Proposition 99 say that the real purpose behind Proposition 99 was to confuse voters so that they will not support Proposition 98. To summarize, a yes vote on Proposition 98 means that you support a broad change to eminent domain law in California, including phasing out rent control, a prohibition on taking private property for public use, as those terms would be defined in the Constitution, with some exceptions, and that you want to change the way courts currently review eminent domain cases. A no vote means you do not want to make the changes as proposed in Proposition 98. A yes vote on Proposition 99 means that you want a change to eminent domain law in California to the extent that a government could not force a private homeowner who has lived in a residence for at least a year to sell their home and then give the property to a private person, particularly a private corporation, with some exceptions. This is basically the Kelo fact pattern. A no means you do not want the changes as proposed in Proposition 99 to become law. Our goal today was to provide a quick overview of the propositions on the June ballot. I encourage you to read your official voter guide sent to you by the Secretary of State. It contains a summary of the measure, the full LAO analysis of each measure, the arguments presented by both supporters and opponents of each measure, and the full text of the proposed constitutional amendments. The entire voter guide is also online at www.voterguide.sos.ca.gov. In addition to the Secretary of State's website, there are other websites with valuable information. These websites include the Easy Voter Guide at www.easyvoter.org. This guide provides the basics similar to what I presented today. The guide also provides the internet links to the websites for both the opponents and the supporters of the two propositions. On those websites, you can identify the organizations and individuals who support or oppose each measure. Again, that website is www.easyvoter.org. Finally, for a website which contains more detailed information about the election process in general, go to the Smart Voter website at www.smartvoter.org. It provides voters with comprehensive nonpartisan information about the various contests on their ballot in an easy-to-use presentation. It also provides a forum for candidates to publish information about themselves directly to voters. Again, that website is www.smartvoter.org. Finally, if you're interested in learning more about the League of Women Voters and perhaps becoming a member, visit our League website at www.lwvsacramento.org. Both men and women are welcome to become members of the League, and it's an exciting year to join. I want to thank Metro Cable for providing the League with this opportunity to present an overview of the propositions on the June 3rd ballot, and I want to thank you for taking the time to become informed about these important measures. The League believes that your active participation as a voter is vital to our community. Democracy only works if we use it. Please vote on June 3rd. Thank you.